Thank you so much.
As a journalist in this city, I certainly look up to you. You are a voice of our community. You're someone that I've always wanted to talk to. And of course, I've talked to you in your kitchen, right?
Right.
Behind closed doors, you've given some
Right.
speeches about men and boyfriends and what to do with those men, right?
Yeah, I tell them what to do with those men.
She certainly does. And you're a woman who needs no introduction, and yet I find it interesting that you can be introduced in so many ways. You are the queen of Creole cuisine, the
Well, I
chef
cook.
at the renowned, world-renowned Dookie Chase restaurant,
Right.
the inspiration behind Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie.
Yes.
You're a doer, you're a giver, you're a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. So
Right.
I wanted to know, how do you like to be introduced? What is Leah Chase? If someone says Leah Chase is, how do you fill in the blank?
I'm just Leah Chase. I cook, and as you know, I'm not a big comedian fan, but I remember Chris Rock saying one time, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what you're supposed to do. Every day, get up, go to work, help somebody else, pray, keep going.
That's simple,
and
right?
that's life. And you know, that's what we try to tell the young people. You can't give up. You know, they got plenty of stumbling blocks in the way. You just keep going. Sometimes you don't feel like doing what you have to do, but it's important that just keep on going. And people my age and older people know that. It took a lot to get where we are. It took a lot for me. This is a long ways from the strawberry patch. And I tell you, my husband used to say all the time about the business that he really didn't like it. He was a musician, and that's what he liked. But I love this business. And he used to say, honey, this is a hard business. I said, it beats picking strawberries.
There you go. And so we are at the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival. You have a very special connection to Tennessee Williams. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, you know, I worked quarters in 1940. In 40, all the men were being drafted. So the restaurants had no waiters, no nothing. They had to take little dummies like me and train them to be waiters. I didn't know anything. I had never been in a restaurant in my life because, you know, well, it was segregation and we didn't have restaurants to go to. So I never seen one. And the lady hired me as a waitress. First, she had a restaurant called the Colonial on Charters and, I forget, St. Peter or something. And that's where the old WDSU TV was, in the 500 block of Charter Street. And I went to work there for her. I didn't know one thing about restaurant business. But she hired me, and I learned a lot, you know, from her. You learn a lot about people, that's one thing. And people came by. And you know, well, at 18 years old, you're struggling, you're just out the country. You don't know anything, you're trying to feel your way around. You really don't realize who is around you of importance. And it's the same thing with young people today. They don't realize how important people are. And I'm sure Tennessee Williams came to eat at this restaurant because Miss Savoy used to make lemon icebox pies. And that was Tennessee Williams' favorite thing, lemon icebox pies. And I wish I could have made some for today, but I can't do what I used to do, and it's hard to get the help to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but you still work most days. You know, most people
the
dream
last
of
time I
retirement.
did the Tennessee Williams Festival, I did the lemon icebox pie. And I forgot this man. I shouldn't forget him, who was the commentator then. Oh, he was the nicest guy, but he knew Tennessee Williams too. And it was just important that those people came your way. You know, you fed so many people, and it's good when people come your way. They leave a little something and you feel good. Like I remember feeding Doris Duke Cromwell. Wealthiest woman, at that time, she was owner of the Reynolds Tobacco Company. That was a big thing back there in the 40s. And she came to New Orleans to do her charity work like all the wealthy people did. And she would come in for her breakfast in the morning, coffee and toast. You know, you remember what everybody had in those days. You remember old Mr. Helena, who was an artist there. He and his wife would come. The wife would have her toast and coffee and a cinnamon roll. The little daughter would have her oatmeal. You know, you remember that.
All of that. You've fed everyone from presidents to entertainers. Have you ever been starstruck by anyone? Impressed by a celebrity?
You feel just honored to have served them. You know, like I knew Ricky Alvarez until he died. I knew him when he was young. He would come in the restaurant every day because he lived in the quarters. And you just remember them and remember what they left you. They just left you a little something to hang on to. Everybody leaves you something. That's why people ask me, why you go in this restaurant every day? Well, I cook every day. But the most important thing for me is meeting people. Every day you have to come to my kitchen. And after I cook, I sit there, fuss the rest of the day. but keep going. And I meet people. And it's so interesting to meet people and to understand about people.
So will you ever retire?
No.
Oh, well, that was fast. I don't think that we want you to.
No. Let me tell you, my daddy was a hard-working man. He died when he was 87, 88 years old. And he said to me, one day I said, Daddy, I'm going to retire. He said, then what you going to do? I said, nothing. I'm just going to do nothing. He said, then you're going to die. I said, no. He said, don't you know you're supposed to work until you die? So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to work until, you know, what are you going to do, sit home and do nothing? You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so much to do out here. There's so much to do. You got to help these young people because it's hard for them. It's really hard for them to get where they're going. And if you just talk to them, sometimes they don't listen. But I feel like if you tell them what you think, then you've done your part. That's your part. Now, if they don't listen, that's their problem. That's their problem. I tell them that all the time. They come with this, well, you know, Mama didn't do this and Mama did. I said, that's Mama's problem. What about you? You're responsible for self. You have to make them understand Mama does the best she can do. And you don't answer for her. You answer for yourself. What are you doing? What are you doing to help her? I'll never forget, I went to talk to a little kindergarten class one time. And children today are smart. They are so smart. I don't trust one of them. I got 27, and the 2-year-old will blow your mind.
Oh, yeah.
With their vocabulary and what they will tell you. And they can reason, they can do everything, so I don't trust them at all. I don't trust them at one time. So I talked to these little children, and one little boy said, would you read me a story about a monster? Oh, I said, a monster? I don't like monsters. I said, anybody here know a monster? Who knows a monster? Little girl raised up her hand. I said, you do? She said, yes, my mother is a monster. Oh, well, okay. I said, you know what? You turned into a monster. You did not listen to her. She was trying all she could do to make you do the right things, and you didn't listen. So she turned to this awful monster. You know, but it's so funny. Yeah, her mother was a monster.
That's
so
terrible.
They can tell you off in a minute. They're just too funny.
They certainly will. You have a host of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Do they talk to you like that?
Oh, they talk to you in a minute.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes, indeed.
I'm sure that you get them together very quickly.
Yeah, they really, I got a 2-year-old. Her dad is a football coach. Her grandfather's a coach. Her uncle's a coach, so she's surrounded by football. She sits there and she listens. 2 years old, and you hear her say, get the ball, defense. Come on, defense. Get that ball, defense. Get the ball. She is something else. And one day she got up And I don't know what she said, bad word, something, damn or something.
Uh-huh.
Her mother said, where did you get that? She said, Daddy. And so he reprimanded her. And 2 years old now, she said to him, first of all, you said it.
Ooh.
2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, you said it.
Do
They
the,
will tell you things off, so you don't trust them. You just have to watch
you
them.
don't trust them. Do they like to cook? Does the rest of your family like
Some
to cook?
of them do. Some of them, those that are 9 years old, 10 years old, they like to cook. And, well, they'll get you out of your business in a minute if you allow them to. I told them the 9 and 10-year-old, I said, well, I'm going to come and cook this for your mother's birthday or something. We are cooking. Oh, I said, excuse me, 9 years old, you're going to take my job away from me.
Right.
But
They're
are
already
something.
stepping in, huh?
But I try to train them and try to teach them about people like Tennessee Williams, people who went before them. They have to know that. They have to understand the importance, and they have to read. It is so important to get them to read. You know, one young man in college, and he told me, he said, I don't read. I said, you don't read? Well, how in the world? Everything is online for him. He just listens. But you have to know the basics. All this modern technology is good, but you have to know the basics. If you don't know the basics, then you're lost.
Certainly.
You're lost. At the restaurant you have, well, you know, the dishwasher doesn't work. Oh, well, we'll put some water in these 3 sinks and wash the dishes. They don't understand that. You have to go back to the basics all the time. So read and do. I love to read. I love to read about people. And you learn so much when you read about people. Whatever they write, it's important. And it's so important for us, just like in your business. You get blamed, bashed for everything and do that. That's okay too. But you have to let us know where things are. If it were not for the news media, we would not know where things are. You know, you don't have to agree with everything, but listen and take what you need and go. So that's all I do. But I remember the past, working in the French Quarter. That was just like a new life for me. Coming from the 7th Ward all the way up to Royal Street and working. It was just like another world. I met other people who I learned from, who taught me what life was all about, taught me the importance of art, taught me the importance of literature. All that is so important. You have to tell children that. It's so important to learn about people. And you know, then you realize how important it was that you did that. Like Doris Duke, for instance, she used to come in the restaurant. So I had to do a job at Duke University in Durham. So we go into Duke University and looking all around with my grandchildren. We go to this beautiful chapel. At Duke, there's this chapel that's more than the chapel. It's a church. You can seat about 2,000 people. Fabulous building. It was designed by an African-American architect. Now, if you had not read or wouldn't know, you wouldn't know this. And when you feel like, well, if he did this a long time ago, I have more opportunities today. What could I do? What little things I can do? So now I'm so proud at Duke they have a building named after him.
Wow.
So it's good to see. So we go down there, we go to the back, and all the big people are buried in this church. So you get to this man's grave, Terry Sanford. And they said, Grandmother, look at this man, Terry Sanford. He was the governor. He was the president of this university. He was everything. Look at him. He was the senator, all of that. I said, and I fed him.
To let him know.
When he came to New Orleans, he was friendly with a man named Dr. Sam Cooke, who was president of Dillard University. And Sam Cooke would bring all the people to me to eat. And that was really interesting and fun. When Terry Sanford would come to visit Sam Cooke, who sat on Duke's board, he said, Sam, you're going to take me by that lady? Oh, he used to refer to me as that lady.
That lady.
You're going to take me up to that lady. And I remember Terry Sanford so well. Then we go down the road, and there's a lane, Doris Duke Gardens or something. I said, I fed her too in 1940. So it just leaves you something good there. So they listened. They went on and they listened to all of that. Then they get back home and they read about the church and when it was built. They said, you know, how old are you? I said, when were you born? They told me. I said, 1923. And the chapel was built in 1930 or something like that. So they looked at that one, told the other one, she's older than the church.
Oh, no. But that's okay because, listen, your years have been filled with so much amazingness. You know what you just said that's really important? You said when you see someone else do something, it makes you believe that you can do it.
You can do it.
You're that example for so many people in this city. Talk about when you first got involved with this restaurant. It was a sandwich shop. You brought in the Creole food. You transformed it.
You see, when I came in there, I'd worked in the French Quarters in 1940. I worked there. And I was started before the Brennans. Brennans came in 1945, I think they started. But so I worked the French Quarters then, and I learned what they do. We didn't know what they did in restaurants because we didn't go in them. So when I came to Dookie Chase's, they were serving, my mother-in-law was really doing well. How she did it, I don't know. But she knew how to reach that bottom line, and I guess all your ancestors was taught. They didn't know about all the business world and what to do. They just knew if they bought something for this, they had to sell it for this to make some money. So she knew that very well. But I said, oh no, we have to change. Now we're going to change because on the other side of town, they do this, they do that. We're going to change. And look how stupid this was. I said, the only difference in people is the color of their skin. Now that was so stupid because you have different cultures. You have different cultures, different tastes. If you're German, you want good German food. If you're Italian, you have a different culture there. So, but I thought it was different, just color your skin. Come on, we can change this restaurant. First thing I put on is lobster thermidor. Now, black people were not in the habit of eating cream sauces. We didn't know about all of that. The people called my mother-in-law. They said, this lady gonna ruin your business.
No! Weren't they wrong?
Oh, she's gonna ruin your business. So I had to back up and do what I knew how to do, and start making things that they ate, like shrimp creoles, jambalayas, the gumbos. We stuff a lot of things, even people. We like to stuff Merlitoria stuff, chicken with oyster dressing. So that's what I had to back up and do what I was all about. And I think that's what people just do what you're all about. And I tell that to young people when they come all the time. Don't ever come down on your culture. Whatever it is, you just look at it and you appreciate what you do and how you do. I got a cookbook that I truly love, worst title in the world. But I look at it and I look at the people in there. They're genuine. They do genuine things. And the book is titled Poor White Trash Cookbook.
Oh, no.
But it is so good what the energies they put in their food, how they work, how sincere they are. It makes you appreciate people. You are what you are. I had a little lady came to visit me, and I was so proud of her. I get a lot of people from Australia, a lot of people, because Australians are big jazz lovers. So they come to New Orleans. So this lady came, and I said, what do you eat? The first thing I ask you when you come from somewhere else is, what do you eat? So she said, well, Miss Chase, you know, I'm just like you. We live by the water, so we eat a lot of seafood, we eat a lot of reptiles and all that kind of thing. She said, I am Aborigine. Okay. I was so proud of her because she did not deny who she was. She was just a little lowly Aborigine, but she was who she was, and I was really appreciative of that, and I tell that to people all the time. No matter what your background is, be proud of it. Mm-hmm. Be proud of your own culture. You can look at somebody else, you can do what they do, but be proud of who you are and where you come from. Everybody's background has something hidden away in it, so we all the same. We all have problems. We all came through life with problems, but just be proud of what you came through and build on it. That's all. So I was really proud of her. And I'm proud of when they come and I ask them, what you eat, where you're from. You know, sometimes they'll come from Korea, they'll come from, and they say, I'm from California. I can see you from California, but you sure don't look like it. Tell me where you came from, Korea or this. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of your heritage and build on that. And that to me is so important, that people try to deny their heritage. Why? It's yours. You can't change that. It's yours, and you want to be proud of where you came from.
Certainly.
You know, that's where you can, if you know where you're coming from, you can know where you're going. Mm-hmm. But you got to know where you came from so you can build on that.
And everybody comes to you to eat. Do you have a favorite thing to cook?
Yes, gumbo.
Gumbo, that's your favorite?
Well, gumbo is the thing that I feel like we changed the whole course of America over a bowl of gumbo and some fried chicken.
Certainly.
Because the freedom riders from here, like Rudy Lombard and Dodie Simmons, all those people who left from here, they would meet at the restaurant, and they would plan all their meetings. We would serve them gumbo and fried chicken. Then they'd go out. To those who came back, gumbo and fried chicken. So I tell everybody, I went to Paris one to sign books, and my daughters always tell me, don't get politically involved. Don't do that, and that's a wrong thing. Everybody has to get involved in something. Speak up. They may not like what you say, well, so what? That's their problem, but you got to say what you think. Whatever it is, you say what you think, and then we can find out where we're all coming from. So they told me, don't say anything. I got through signing books now. First thing a man asked me is, if you had to speak to President Bush and Mr. Chirac, who was then the president of Paris, what would you tell them? I said, well, I would tell them this, you know. We changed America in my dining room over a bowl of gumbo and some fried chicken. Get together, bring Mr. Saddam along. We'll all have gumbo and serve the World Cup.
And everything will be fixed,
Everything
right?
will be fine. and sometimes that's what we have to do. Just talk. We may not agree with one another, but sometimes if you just talk.
Yeah.
Talk about it, you know.
Some important conversations happened in your restaurant, especially if we go back to the civil rights movement, a space where blacks and whites could meet. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement knew that this place had so much power that they wouldn't mess with it. Talk about that time.
They didn't, and Rudy Lombard used to say that all the time, and all the black people would say, when they came to Dookie Chase's, they called it a safe haven. Mm. Because when they met in this dining room that I have upstairs, nobody would ever bother them. The police never, ever came in that restaurant. Never. Never. So they were able to meet and plan their things with no interruption. You know, nobody ever bothered us. I never knew why they didn't bother us, because back in those days, they had no African-American policemen. All of them were white. But sometimes, you know, my mother-in-law was such a goody two-shoes. She's always giving you something. She used to have somebody stand on the corner and give children apples, oranges, all that kind of stuff. So the policemen who worked the beat, when they would come by, she'd say, I'm going to make you a little sandwich, baby. Sit down. That's the way she used to talk. And I'm going to make you a little sandwich, baby. She'd make them a sandwich, give them a root beer. They'd go, you know. So I guess they remembered her kindness. Now, you see, today they would call that bribery, but with her, she was just being kind. They were working, and she just thought she'd treat them to something. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's why they didn't ever come in that restaurant. Wow. So the black people always called that a safe haven. They felt safe when they came there, and they did. Yeah. So we just carried on. I just feed them all. If they went to jail in New Orleans, I sent the food to jail. Mm. You know, they didn't eat jail food. I would send the food to jail.
You took care of them.
But those were days that sometimes it was hard, but life is not supposed to be easy. You're just taking one step at a time. And these young people were doing things that we were working through the NAACP at that time, you know. And the people like Thurgood Marshall and A.P. Turo and all those people, they worked hard. Thurgood he used to come all the time too. And they were working, but they didn't want to upset people. I'll never forget A.P. Turo. He said, you don't want to make them angry. Don't make the white people angry. He didn't want to do that. He wanted everybody, and sometimes it just can't be done. So here come these young people, they're bamming doors down, right and left, but they got the job done. And I look at what's happening today with this gun control, and it brings me back to the 60s because these young people are going to make a difference. They are going to make a difference in that because they are really standing up for what they believe in. And sometimes you have to listen to them because we have to do something about those guns. It's just ridiculous how they can't see. And you know, all the damage is done by automatic guns, not by, if you have a rifle, you go hunting with it. You know, I always gave my grandchildren and my children, first thing you started off was with what we used to call a BB gun, a little pellet shooter. Then you got to have a .410. And a .410 was better than a .22 rifle because the .22 rifle, the bullets would go far. So you start them off on a .410. Then you give them a rifle, then you give them a 20-gauge shotgun. But that was to hunt your food, which you ate, you know, and it wasn't to hurt anybody. Those guns came back, sat on a rack until you went hunting again. Nobody took them down. But these guns they're using today, the only purpose they're for is to kill. They're army things. They're things like that. You can't have that in the street. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So these young people are going to really stand up and make a change on that.
Certainly. And you're still helping them do that. The last time I visited you at the restaurant, you were making sandwiches because you said you had some young people coming for a voter registration event that night. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you have to get them to vote. You have to get them to understand about they have to vote. When you realize that people died for you to get an opportunity to do something, do you realize how important that is? I don't think I'd die for anybody. No, but, you know, these people were willing to die for you to be able to move ahead. So you got to look at that. And if they would sacrifice their life for you, the least you can do is do what they told you to do and do that. People always say, well, what you doing for Martin Luther King's birthday? I'm doing what he died for me to do, work. He died for me to work, get good pay. That's what I'm doing. And that's what it's all about. You have to do what you're supposed to do. And these young people have to learn that. Many people in all walks of life, ancestors sacrificed for you to get where you are. Mm-hmm. Your parents are sacrificing for you to get where you are. Learn that and keep moving on and try to listen. That's all you, and I tell them every day, you know, young people always think their parents are crazy. And they don't know what they're talking about. But just listen, and you'll find out one day they're not so crazy. Mm-hmm. You listen to them, and you do what you have to do. And that's all. But you just got to keep preaching every day, every day, every day. You keep talking to them every day. And the new thing now, particularly in our city, is the dress code. You know, we have to tell them, this is, you know, when you went out, your mama told you, look good. Mm-hmm. Don't go out this house unless you look good. Be sure you look good. Be sure your hair is combed. Be sure this is that. And another thing they tell you, be sure you have clean underwear in case you get sick in the street.
And get to the hospital, yeah.
In case you get sick in the street, be sure your underwear is clean. But they told you that. But now you're going out in the street, you look like heck. Well, you're frightening people by the way you look. You know, you're frightening people the way you look. I said, my God, if I looked at some of y'all in the street, I guess I'd shoot you down too. Because they look terrible. Don't go out this house unless you look like presentable. So you have to train them and teach them all that.
Yeah, you have lots of advice for young people. As I was saying earlier, last time I saw you, there were a line of young women waiting to speak to you. Mm-hmm. And any young woman who comes to the back kitchen, I know, gets a lovely speech of wisdom from you. Why don't you give us a taste? What do you tell young women today?
That's another problem with young women today.
We start with that.
You know, women today don't realize how powerful they are. Now, older women knew their power. They knew how to act. They knew what to do. My mother always told us, women's behavior, you control the behavior of men. How you act, they will act. Young people don't understand that today. I said, these are men out here, and sometimes smart men do stupid things. They do. Mm-hmm. I tell them all the time, I can't do a thing about that. Men were born stupid, and nothing I can do about it. They can do about it. It's your job to uplift that man. I don't like that man bashing stuff.
You do tell me a lot about that. You talk about uplifting men, not bashing them.
Not bashing them, mm-hmm. No. Your job is to uplift them and try to do. It hurts me when I know these men have done wrong to some of these women, and it is not right. But look what you wait all these years to do to their families. I just feel hurt by the families you ruin and all that. So you have to be careful how you dress, be careful how you act. You know, when the young man took me out, you know, look, I get dressed to go out. I want people to see me, and I want them to see me with you. So I don't want to go in no dark corners with you. I'm going to go in the bright light. Go in the bright light where I can be seen. So don't be going in this man's room.
Right.
What's that all about?
Stay out of the dark corners with those
Stay
men.
out the dark corners. Yeah.
I'm going to pass that one along from now on.
Stay out the dark corners. No.
You have lots of great advice.
We have to keep uplifting one another. Mm-hmm. You know, for them to appreciate you, you have to appreciate yourself. And you can do so many things. Women have so much power, but they get up there and they get all educated maybe, and the man is not. But you don't put him down. You kind of uplift him too. Mm-hmm. You know, you might have all the degrees, he may not have it all. But if he does what he's supposed to do, it's his job. That's what he does, and you do what you're supposed to do. But it's not to put him down. I don't like bashing men. Yeah. Never like that.
You certainly are a great example to all young women. What was it like having a Disney movie made after you? That's one of my favorite Disney movies.
That is so much fun. You know, when they came to me, and they came to dinner, and I talked to them like I do all the rest of my guests who come to dinner, and they didn't tell me anything. Then the next day they said, we want to take you to lunch. And Antoine, oh goodness, I love that. Come on, take this lunch at Antoine's. That's great for me. So, okay, we go there and they talk to me there. Then they come back to the restaurant and talk. And they said, we're going to make this movie with an African-American princess. Oh, I said, I'm so glad because it's about time now. You know, you had Cinderella, Snow White, Belle, all those little white princesses. It's time to have a black one. So I just thought they were going to. Then they said, we're going to base it on your life. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. But it's the cutest little movie you ever see. And the kids like it, old people like it. It's really a cute little movie. But one little boy came to my kitchen. He was too funny, a little blonde-headed boy. Must have been about 5 years old. He looked at me, and his mother said, that's Princess Tiana. He looked, he said, she's not the princess. I said, I'm sorry, the princess just got old.
You certainly are the princess. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's The Princess and the Frog. So definitely go check it out.
It's a cute little movie. They combine so many things. They combine the Cajun experience and everything. It's the cutest thing you ever see. And it's really a nice little movie.
And you had a handsome prince. You had one in real life as well who you were married to for 70 years. What was it like working with your husband?
That's another thing. It wasn't easy. But it wasn't easy because he didn't like what I liked. We didn't agree on anything.
Really?
If I said it was raining, he said the sun was shining. But I knew, and the funny thing about this, when we got married, he had a 17-piece band. He was on the road with a band when he was 16 years old. When we got married, he was 18, I was 23. So that wasn't going to work with some people anyway. But he was really a different kind of musician. He was easygoing, you know, didn't like all the same things. And when his daddy died, he had to come in the restaurant because his mother was all alone. So he came in to run the restaurant, and he really did a job there. But sometimes he would say, honey, you can't do this. And I think he did that on purpose. Because if you tell me what I can't do, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
He know how to get you to do it, huh?
He know how to get me to do it. Because my mother always told us, you couldn't say that word in front of mother. She would say, there's no such word in the dictionary as can't. And mother said it wasn't there. We didn't look to see it was there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. So can't was a word we could not say. So, and if you tell me I can't do something, it's exactly what I'm going to do. So, and I think Dookie knew that he would do that. But he was so different than I get mad in a hurry and fuss and call everybody a stupid jackass and go, honey, you can't do that. Honey, he come back in again, honey, God's going to punish you. I said, he was always telling me, God's going to punish you, honey, because you just don't be nice to people. Well, if you're a stupid jackass, what you want me to do about it? But he would never do that. He would never, ever do that. But he kept all the business lines together, all that. I didn't have to worry about all that.
Well, that's good.
That is wonderful. He did that. All I had to do was do the kitchen, do my decoration, whatever I wanted to do. And he never told me I can't. If he told me I can't, he knew I was going to do it anyway. But, you know, he was a good money manager like his mother was. I am not a good money manager.
Really?
I need somebody. He used to call me the bankrupt sister. She'll give away every penny you have. I said, honey, I wish I'd win the lottery. He said, and all you can do is give it away. I said, well, I'd have it to give away.
There you go.
But he'd call me the bankrupt sister, but he kept all of that in line So that's what you need in business. You can do what you do, but you need somebody to back you up. Mm-hmm. And I miss him for that. But I got my children that really keep me in line. Stella is one. She's tighter than beeswax. So she's worse than her dad.
She's worse than her daddy.
Oh, I say, your daddy never did this. I can do this. I can do that. Mother, no. Mother, no. That's not done. You can't do that. Don't tell me what I can't do. But it's fun. It's fun just being here and just seeing people every day. And I consider it a big blessing to have lived this long and am able to still work and go on. For me, that's all I ask, is to live and be able to help somebody else up.
That's beautiful. Now, what if somebody could cook for you? Who's your favorite person to have cook for you?
Oh, I like good food. Mm-hmm. You know, I go around to all the restaurants and I taste everything. Now, you know, the new thing for me is the Mexican restaurants. Because we used to think, well, what the Mexicans eat? All I see them eating is chips and dips and chips and dips. What is this? So I said, oh, I'm going to a Mexican restaurant. So I went to this called what? El Gato Negro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go there, and I learned it's nice. They have nice things, and they fix nice things. So you see, you have all these new ethnic restaurants coming, like the Vietnamese and all that, and you learn how to eat. Then you take that, and I go back to my restaurant, and I say, oh, I'll Creolize this.
You fix it up, huh?
Fix it up and make it my way.
That's perfect.
But it's really fun, and I like to go around to different restaurants and taste different things, and it's fun. But the chefs here are unbelievable people in this city. Believe me, you're not going to go in another city and find chefs like you find in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. They help one another. They help me out. I can, you know, they'll come when I need them. They'll do everything, and they always include me. And I'm grateful for that because they all have these degrees. I have none, but they never leave me out. And they're just good, good people. Now, we do Chef's Charity coming up. Now, we put up all the food. It's our money, our food, everything, and our service for St. Michael's. And I love that school because those children would be lost if somebody wouldn't take them and train them how to live a normal life. Mm-hmm.
What date is it this year?
Yeah.
Do you know when it is this year?
I think it's April 20-something. It's in April this year. But I will be there, and I told them I'm going to stay there till they get another woman up.
Oh, that's what it is. You're going to stay until they get another woman, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Standing up for the
one.
ladies.
You can't let those men have everything by themselves.
I am going to open the floor for questions from you guys after one more question. But I just want to know from you, is there anything left on your bucket list? You have a big goal or somewhere you want to go that you've never been or something you've never done yet?
I'm still trying to make that restaurant what I call a first-class restaurant because I think in the African-American community, we ought to have this. We need this. Why we can't have this? We're just not greens and cornbread people. You know, we can do other things. And I serve in my restaurant. We have white tablecloths and napkins. I'm a believer in that. I'm a believer in that. And I want young people don't understand about service today. They don't understand what it is. And that baffles me, Sheba, about black people. We have been doing this all our lives. We ought to know how to do it. We ought to be proud to do it, to serve people. It's a wonderful thing to sit down and make people come. If a person comes, and I hate when I hear this customer's got an attitude. What do you mean an attitude? Customer might come in tired, weary. Mm-hmm. It's your job to make her feel happy. Sit them down, give them a glass of lemonade, serve them right. They're happy.
See, you know customer service, right?
Yeah. I love to do that. I just love to do that. You know, like we have a glass for our water glass. And you know, when we were little in the country, drinking out of the jelly glasses and cutting tin cans and drinking out of that. But when your aunt came or somebody came to visit, that was company. Your mother told you, go in the locker, get a good glass, the company's coming. You know, I tell them all the time, I say, everybody who hits this front door is company to me. Treat them like company. They don't even know what company is. They don't even know what company is.
Mrs. Chase, why don't we take a question from the audience? You want to do that?
Yes.
Anyone? Yes, please.
Ms. Chase, is it true that 10 years ago in early 2008, you told Barack Obama, Senator, don't you dare be putting hot sauce into my water? Or did somebody make that up?
No, that's true. You know, Mr. Obama came and he came in there, and as usual, they're always running. And he said, well, I want the gumbo and chicken, but I don't have time. So Dr. Francis brought him. And he sat down, and I said, okay, I'll give you your gumbo. You can take your chicken with you. It's okay cold. You can eat it on a plane. So he sits down with the gumbo. In comes the Tabasco. Oh, my goodness. When I realized I had to hit the person.
You hit President Obama? Oh, no.
I said, you don't put hot stuff in my gumbo. You don't do that. So the whole neighborhood got that. And, you know, the neighborhood, some of them was rough and ugly, but they were good to me. They say, Miss Dookie, you told him right. Don't be messing up your gumbo.
Set him straight.
But then the next president I served wasn't the best president, but a good man you're never going to find. That's George W. Bush. He was the kindest man, and I always look at that. You may not do your job properly or as well as we expected you to do, but there's no excuse for not being kind. He was so kind. He never came to this city without sending for me. And he ate at my restaurant twice. Now here come the news meet. Why he ate here twice? He didn't eat anywhere else. I said, I don't know. But he came twice. The first time he came with General Honoré and all the entourage. And then next time he sent for me, he said, you want to eat dinner with me at Commander's Palace? Okay. I go there, and the waiter said, look where you're sitting, right next to him, Mr. Oh, I say, I'm grateful for that. So he said, you want to fix breakfast for me? Oh, my God, no. I sure don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and have the breakfast for you at 8, but how you tell the president no? So I said, okay. So, you know, he came the next morning, just all unassuming he came. He brought with him the president of Mexico and the prime minister of Canada. And I fixed breakfast for about 18 of them. And I fixed some grits and quail that I'm having fixing, and shrimp and all that kind of thing. He said, I never had grits and quail before, Leah, but I love it. So he was really good, and I still hear from his people all the time.
It's wonderful.
So it's just fun to be able to feed those people, and you feel good about it. Everybody you meet leaves you a little something. Leaves you something you can use. If you can't use it, okay. You just leave it go.
All right. That was a great question. Let's get another one, guys. Yeah.
What was the first dish that you ever remember cooking?
The first dish you ever remember cooking?
Yeah, you know, when you cook, when you live in the country like I do, I never liked the kitchen. I hated it. My sister under me was always the one in the kitchen. But there was no such thing as you couldn't, at home you had to take your turn doing everything. I was one who liked to do the housework, make the beds, mop the floor, clean up, do that kind of thing. But you had to take your turn in the kitchen and do things. So we did basic things. We had nothing, really nothing, and you had to make do with nothing. I'll never forget, Daddy used to grow a lot of onions. So we ate onions, onions, onions. And I learned this, we would do smothered onions and grits. You know, the welfare always gave you good butter. So you put those onions in good butter, put them on grits. That was your dinner. So we used to cook that. And I cook okra and the vegetables we had there. You know, but I learned now it's not smothered onions anymore. It's caramelized onions.
It sounds much fancier, huh?
It sounds fancier. And I'll never forget, we had one day the vegetables were not doing so good. So my mother said, go and get this, pull this purslane. Now, purslane was a wild dish, wild grass-like. She said, but don't let anybody see us doing that because they know we're so poor, we're eating this grass. Okay, so we get that and smother it down. It's like spinach when you cook it. It's really good. So I grow up and go to California and go to a restaurant called Cities, order my liver for $25. On the plate, here's purslane. I said, you never know.
There it is.
But you learn. Coming up in a small town, you learn. You learn how to cook things. You learn what you can go in the woods and eat, what you can't eat, what you can't touch. You learn all that. So I learned to work with everything. Everything. If your daddy killed a rabbit, you knew what to do with that. So I learned those things that way. And then you dress them up and you go from there. But it's just fun.
Perfect. What else, guys? Yeah, all the way in the back.
What's the secret of a good gumbo?
Oh.
Now, that's a good question. You know, in New Orleans, we have lots of gumbos. But you know what? There are so many gumbos, but I have not had a bad one. Different ones, but not bad. Now, my gumbos are what the old Creoles of color always made the same way. And for one thing, they put a lot of things in it. We put the chorizo in it, the fresh hot sausage. We put smoked sausage in it, ham, crabs, shrimp, chicken, and veal stew. And I never knew why they put the veal stew in it, because it gives no flavor. But if you put that veal stew, you'll find it'll pick up the flavors from other things and make a hearty dish. So a good roux is the best thing you can do for your gumbo. If you know how to make a good roux, cook that flour really good. You know, if you cook it, if you don't cook good, you're gonna have what the Creoles call a cataplasme. That's a big mess. It's a sticky mess. So you want to cook the flour good, so you can make that roux. And I make the roux out of the grease that I ran from the hot sausage. Gives it all the flavor you got to give it. And we make about 30, 40 gallons at a time. Wow. Now we got a dinner coming up Thursday, Gumbo's Arab Day. Now
That's big.
That is something that was done, well, New Orleans was predominantly Catholic. And on Holy Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, was your last big meat day. You barely got a piece of bread on Good Friday. They didn't want you to eat anything. But we made this big gumbo with greens, all different kinds of greens, and we put a lot of meat in them. So now I start making the gumbo zab on Thursday. People come, and I always tell this tale about the gumbo zab. You will acquire as many friends as I have greens in the pot. You know, and we always hope one is rich. So they don't trust, they come and get the greens. Now it has grown so big till they come, so I have to have help grinding the greens now, because we hand grind them and grind greens. I use 7 different kinds of greens. Boil them all, drain them, and then grind them. Then you cook your meat, you make a roux for that, put it in there. So now John Fosse has this big plant, so he helps me by grinding greens for me. So that is a good thing he does for me. because I can't, it's too much now, because we're going to feed this Thursday about 2,000 people.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
It is a lot.
So, and all we serve on Holy Thursday is gumbo zab and fried chicken.
Keep it simple.
That's it. Keep it simple.
And delicious.
And everybody comes. If you're Jewish, you come anyway. If you,
You get everybody in there.
get
We've got
everybody.
another question for you, Miss Chase. Yes, sir.
Changing in politics. Next month will mark 50 years that Dr. King has been gone. Can you reflect on him as you look back at him?
yeah, you know, Dr. King was a person that never sat down. I don't know if he sat down in any restaurant. He came to the restaurant, and Dookie was always there sometimes when I wasn't there at night, when the children were small. And he'd come sit down with Judge Augustine and talk. But he wasn't a man that you would see sitting down in a restaurant, dining out. If you see the place, the last hotel he lived in was killed, his food is by his bedside. That's the way he was. He ate on a run. It was like Martin always had something on his mind. And sometimes I'd say, this man is crazy as a bat. You know, he's not going to do all these things he says he's going to do, you know, and this, that, and the other. But it was like he was ahead of everybody. So you fed him, and he ate on a run and kept going and playing and doing his thing. Now, his daddy was a man we call Big Daddy King, different kind of person. Big Daddy King would come in that restaurant. Sister, fix me this, fix me that. So you had to always fix the Big Daddy King. But he was a special kind of man. And the more I think about him, the more I see how special he was to be able to do the things he did. I fed everybody. I fed Ben Smith, who started the Civil Liberties Union, Jim Dombrowski, who was the man who came down here to work with the sugar refinery people, to organize that. All those people came. But in that civil rights movement, I fed everybody. James Baldwin, James Farmer, they all had to meet there. But Dr. King was a special kind of person. The more I think about him, the more I see how special he was. And, you know, I'm particularly grateful to the wives of those men. Medgar Evers, King, even Malcolm X in his own weird way. He was going to change things. But I met their wives, and I don't know how those women did what they did, because I would be furious if you had killed my husband and I'm left to raise children, and the only one who had the education was Coretta King. See, Coretta had an education. Merle Evers didn't. Betty Shabazz didn't. So after their husbands died, they had to get some kind of education to raise these children right. But you know what? They were never bitter. They never complained. They just kept going. I don't know how they did that, because I would be out here battling all over the place. If you took my husband's life and you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I'd be out here crazy. But they didn't do that. They just kept going. And they raised those children, all of them. The only one left now is Merle Evers. She's still living, but she's carrying on the work and trying to make a difference in people's lives. But Martin Luther King was something else. He went to school in Boston. You know who went to school with him? Sybil Morial. She was in Boston University with King, too. But he was just a special kind of person. And those people like King, Ben Smith, they were out here. They didn't have to do that, but they knew they had to make a difference. A.P. Touro, Thurgood Marshall, all of them in their own way. And I was able to feed them, and that kind of makes me really happy that they came my way, that all the people that helped. Now, Jim Dombrowski, Rosa Parks, and all that. I went to this museum in Washington, the new African American fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So the lady who took me around said, oh, you know, yes, I knew this. I knew. So she said, did you know Rosa Parks? I said, yes. I fed Rosa Parks. I knew Rosa well. You know, we talked all the time when she came and all that kind of stuff. So I said, I know them all. I go to the Tuskegee Airmen, and they were my friends back then. All of them. They said, oh, I said, God, you know you're old when you know everybody in the museum. Then I go to another little corner, and here I am. I said, I got you real old when you find yourself in the museum.
No, it means you're very special.
But it's really good to remember those people who made a difference, who tried to make a difference. All of the people who tried to make a difference. Like you go to that Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, and you see the president and all those people who really tried to make a difference. All of them in their own way. In their own way, the Kennedys, the Johnson, Lyndon Johnson, who was totally different than the Kennedys was, because the Kennedys did what they did, but it was a political move. But you see, when you grow up in the South, Lyndon Johnson knew black people because they had worked for him. And when you know a person, you can feel different toward them. And that was the difference in Lyndon Johnson and Jack Kennedy. Lyndon knew black people, to me, better because he had grown, you know, they worked for him, they were there, he knew them. And that's the difference in the South. You know, we have this big movement, and I like this organization, this Southern Foodways Alliance. We go to Oxford, Mississippi. And I love it to go there because I remember when James Meredith was trying to get in Ole Miss, he came to the restaurant every day. I fed him every day before he went to court, he and his lawyer, Constance Baker. And every morning I had to feed them, trying to get him into Ole Miss. Now you go to Ole Miss, and you see black queens, you see everything. So it's good to see the difference that those people make. And, you know, and people don't understand people in the South. We live totally different. And the Deep South, maybe you live here, you live there, but at least you knew one another. You knew one another. And that, I think that made a difference for us in New Orleans with the Civil Rights Movement. People lived next door and they knew one another. The Italians had groceries on the corner. So black people were able to go in their groceries, help them work, do this, do that. And, you know, you got to know each other. And that makes a whole bit of difference in the South and in the East and the North, where they didn't mingle. It was this side of town or that side of town. Wasn't like that in New Orleans.
We are certainly different. Well, Ms. Chase, thank you very much for your time tonight.
you.
Everyone, please help me thank Mrs. Chase.
Thank you.